And Assistant Treasurer Stephen Jones hints that tax benefits may only be available to funds with less than $3 million in them. Made some references to bees and hives and honey yesterday. There are arguments of fairness on all sides. Our business editor Ross Greenwood joins me now. Ross, this is a political and community debate. It's hot as.
It is as hot as, and it goes to every corner of our community as well. It goes to the issues of fairness, the fairness in regards to the tax incentives that already come to those people putting money into superannuation, which is everybody. And remember that any working person has a superannuation fund. But also to the issues of fairness, in other words, rules that have previously been put in place and people being told that they will forego wages to be put into the retirement savings so that they can long-term provide for themselves in their retirement. So this is the key chart about what the whole debate is about, however. So this comes from an incomes sort of an assessment of our superannuation system going back a couple of years ago. And what you can see is around 2045. So we're talking in, let's say, the best part of 20 years' time. You can see a crossover here where the amount of money that the government spends on the age pension actually becomes less than the amount of money spent on tax concessions for superannuation. And this is the argument where it's said to be unfair, that really more money should be put into age pensions to provide for those people who have not got enough money, and less money should be put in to the incentives for people to put the money away. Now, the interesting part about this is, remember that people have been saving for, in many cases, 3-4 decades, according to the rules that governments have set down. And so this is really one of the big issues, that if you start changing rules, as I've pointed out many times before, the one thing that people hate when it comes to superannuation is ongoing changing rules, because it can actually lead to a situation where there's literally no confidence in the system, because it's seen that government, with their changing circumstances, will change the rules to suit themselves when it comes to tax.
Yeah, that's the argument from the opposition at the moment, isn't it, Ross? Yeah, you make a change here, then down the track, then you make another change, you make another change. Where does that end? But the superannuation system, though, hasn't it been set up to allow people to put more than $3 million in it?
It has been. That's exactly what's happened. So, it's interesting to see that there have been various caps being put on place over a period of time, which in many ways for young people already put significant limits on them. And I can show you just the way in which this works. The major amount of concessional contributions you can make on an annual basis is $27,500. So in other words, this is if you want a salary sacrifice. That's the maximum any person can put in. Now, if you want to put in your own savings that have already been taxed into superannuation, well, that's capped also at a maximum contribution of $100,000. But the interesting one here is actually when it comes to small businesses. So if you've sold a business, many people would say you haven't had the chance with a business to put your money in, all that sort of stuff. So that is also capped now at $1.65 million. And that's the area where in many people's cases where they might already have $1 million or so in super. So this is this area where the $3 million becomes a little questionable. So the Association of Superannuation Funds in a pre-budget submission says that the cap should be at $5 million. Now, the hint, as you said, from the Assistant Treasurer, is that maybe it's around about $3 million. So this is also not just about the amount of money you've got in super, but the amount of income that it will generate. And one of the real arguments here is to whether in the future people who maybe have foregone income and maybe even the ability to pay down their mortgage, who when they get the retirement need that money to pay off their mortgage, all of a sudden find that they're almost being forced into pension-style products to derive an income from their super and not being able to do with it what they want, as they currently can.
And meanwhile, our contributions are all going to rise over the next few years, right, Ross? It's heading up to 12%.
Well, see, this is the other part of the argument. So, in other words, while parts of it are putting caps on, remember that the Labor Party in particular, but certainly the governments prospectively, have been raising the amount of money that you are needing to set aside into super. So right now, 10.5%, rising out to some 12%. But the other argument here is that this is a bit of an attack on self-managed super funds, which are set up by businesses, lawyers, accountants, doctors, small business people. So there's more than 605,000 of those with 1.1 million members. But look at this, out of a total $3.3 trillion in our superannuation system, they account for around a quarter of all that money, around $900 billion in superannuation. Of course, that's where many of the high account balances will be. And it's that group that think right now that they seem to be under attack from this whole debate, this argument about superannuation.
Well, it's a hot one, all right. There you go. Some big numbers there. Ross, thanks.